All right, Happy New Year, everybody. We're back down in the basement, and it's nice to see you all. First of all, I just want to check, can you hear me? That's the first thing. I had some hiccups. Basically, I didn't charge my microphones, and so I have not having any of my lapel mics tonight, so I got to use other microphones. So if you guys can let me know if you can hear me in the chat, I would appreciate it. Yes, but it sounds remote. Yeah, it's not so great. So I apologize for that this evening. There are a lot of people in the chat. Again, Happy New Year. I was able to touch base with a few of you actually on Christmas Day. I decided to come down here for a little while, and it was nice to catch up with you guys. And so I hope that everyone is doing well. I'm looking forward to the year with everybody. And yeah, Third Rail Thursday, I guess, is kicked off for another year. I did the first episode of the stream exactly 1 year ago, and I was looking back through some photographs, and 1 year ago I only had some track up in what we'll call the Hamilton area. The Union Station area was plywood central. There was no track there except for a couple pieces where I couldn't reach, and I had to set my laptop up where the on-air sign is and put like tables and chairs and try to balance cameras and everything. And so yeah, I had been saying to a couple other people that the year's gone slowly and quickly, and so it's hard to keep track of what everything has happened. But looking back on my phone, I've been able to get a lot done, and it didn't feel like it. So 1 year, I appreciate that, you guys hanging out with me for the last year. So Third Rail Thursday is back in full swing for 2026. It's the same regular motley crew where I am the first Thursday of every month. Go Via or Go Home, Kris is on the second. M&M Rails, Mark is on the third Thursday of every month. And then it's GVO After Dark, which is the fourth Thursday of every month. And that's how we roll. And one of the things that's coming back is, you may remember that Kris at GVO or Go Via or Go Home used to have the brunch kit builds. Well, he's now moving those kit builds to Saturday night. So if you want to join in and hang out on a Saturday night and work on a kit, that's what's up. And that's actually what I want to try a little bit tonight. So this past summer, I got to swing by a table at OVR, and the good people at ITLA were there showing their kits, and I decided to buy one. And I was completely confused because I was going between two different kits that I was looking at, and I liked this one for one reason and this one for another reason, and I couldn't decide. And ITLA looked at me and he basically said, kindly. So that's our modular kit. You can build it any way you want. That's the same kit assembled in two different ways. Anyway, so I bought the kit, and I want to start working on it tonight and talk about how I'm going to approach it. But before we get that much further, I probably should say hi to a bunch of you people. So, CP Whiskey Creek, Kris was the first in the door apparently, so cookie, Timbit, donut, whatever. Steve Anderson, Trackside Mike, keep it on the track, sir. Sean Pennywise Miser, RDGK1SE, you know who you are. Little Mule, Pine Valley Railway, Happy New Year to you guys. Brian Ferguson, Cubber Ken, Floyd Robertson, Happy New Year's to each of you guys. BN Ironworker, Happy New Year's to you, Steve. Mustache Mike, I run Gains and Trains. Chris May, Wesserman, Brad Lobreget, Anthony Borden, and I think Larry Bauman. Anyway, Happy New Year to all of you. I appreciate you dropping by. So, this kit. This is ITLA's N Scale Dystopia tool and die. And I picked this up, and even though I work in N Scale, this is really small. Also, I upgraded my camera. Watch this. This is the entire kit. We've got, this is the principal kit here. This is the windows and the cornices. This is a few details like a billboard and a couple other pieces. And this is the whole kit. And so for reference, this is it. You're welcome, Larry. And for some reason, I was looking at this, and so the ITLA kits, for anyone who doesn't know, they're laser cut kits. Etched in laser cut. This is actually looks like 2.5 millimeter stock, very thin MDF kits and such. And I went over the instructions several different times, and I have never worked with a wooden kit before. I've done almost exclusively plastic kits, 3D printed some details, and so I've never worked with the kit. So I was going over the instructions, and definitely the instructions are a bit different for how you would treat this if it was HO scale. And so I want to figure out how to approach this particular kit, because as I'm seeing in the comments, I mean, they are fragile little kits. And what I think I'm going to do tonight is work on actually painting it. And I took a look at how they did this online. And what's interesting to me is that the brick detail is amazing. I've never worked on something this fine detailed, and that's sort of changing the approach I have, because I'm a little heavy-handed with the way that I paint typically, which means I'm really unconcerned about filling in some details. These details are microscopic, and so I'm going to work with you guys tonight trying to figure out how to actually paint this to preserve it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it without removing it. I'm going to paint it all here to start. I am not concerned about sort of going in after the fact and grabbing a little paintbrush and detailing it. So the hope is that most of the faces get painted tonight. I'll start to assemble the kit, probably not tonight. And then as I get bare edges that appear, I'll go in and attempt to paint them up. As I said, this is the first time ever doing one of these kits, and I am notoriously heavy-handed. The other thing I would say is that I want to try to paint the kit without the use of rattle cans or an airbrush. Certainly the instructions, suggested that you give it a coat of primer with some khaki or tan spray paint, and I'm just going to go at this with regular craft paints, sponges and everything, and see if I can't get it somewhere along the lines. The other thing is that I've got a horrendous selection of paint, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to make this as challenging as possible to do with no colors that I want to use and my old paintbrush, and see how we can get over the next hour. Good evening, Mr. YouTube 7048. So, that said, one last little detail. So this is what they allege it will look like. And so this is a fully combined configuration. This is to run the entire building as some flats, which is actually pretty cool. To the comment, the instructions are effectively 1-for-1, if not a bit smaller than the kit. A little bit hard to read. I need to keep taking my glasses on and off. But for what it's worth, this is all of the different proposed combinations that you can come up with to create a building. And from what I can see, these particular seams, which are sort of, they're not necessarily dovetails, they're more like dados. There's this other detail part here. You can see these strips. And what happens is regardless of how you put this together, you run these strips over top of the dados, and it covers it up. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to do this as a sort of a rusty brick color. I have some spiced pumpkin here, which I think will be one of the principal colors that I use. And I've also got some cinnamon sticks. So I'll sort of do an orangey brick. I will do the top and bottoms as concrete. And then this is a stuccoed area, which is sort of the reverse. And I don't know what we're going to do there, but we'll get to it. Be an iron worker. You have to seal it or it will swell. Well, we're going to we're gonna go for it anyway. Okay, so let's get back to this. Glass is off. So one of the things, so yes, MDF is quite porous, but what I'm thinking is that if I barely touch this with any paint, that maybe I've got a fighting chance here. And I'm also sort of, I thought the kit would be a little more straightforward, and it's a great kit. I can already tell it's a great kit. I had to think about stuff. So number one, as I'm preparing the colors, it has custom window inserts to go in all of these, but you can leave the brick in there so you can brick them up. So we're going to sort of decide on this. What if you paint both sides? I don't know. I mean, this is thick. Okay. So I've got some pumpkin spice for the pumpkin spice factory. I'm going to go with, do I want to do cinnamon stick? I've got some other colors here. I've got orange. I will do cinnamon stick. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to stain it with coffee or whiskey. I do have a cup of coffee. We could do that. And originally what I thought is that, you know, you probably have seen that you paint the buildings and then you put a whitewash and wipe it back off to get mortar lines out. I can't imagine that I'll ever be able to get into these. So I've got the colors here, and I've got a makeup sponge. And I'm going to just see if I can't effectively just give this like light stainings, and I'll let the etch marks from the laser just maintain themselves as the mortar lines. And I'm not sure, I may give this a wash. So that looks tape across the back of the brick inserts, tape across the back of the brick inserts, 10 out of 10. I don't know where the doors went. Oh, the doors weren't there. I'm assuming that Steve here has probably put one of these. Actually, I know he's put one together. And so the thought is that I can sort of effectively stain the surface of the wood, and it'll be probably very passable when I get it all together. The plan is that stain all the brick up, a couple different layers to make it look interesting, and then I'm going to mask it with some tape so when I go at the concrete, it's got a nice sort of tight edge on it. These makeup sponges are dollar store finds. Oh, I guess I'll have to paint these by hand. Oh dear. The what do you call the curvy part on the top of the windows? Those. I'm not sure what it was said that they were nervous in the chat. I just sort of assumed like I would just jump in and this kit wouldn't even be anything intimidating. And then I opened up the kit and it was surprising how small the pieces of this were. So it looks really sort of like ochre on the camera. It is a better color than that. Oh, and I remember, and I've done sort of red brick buildings before. This is my Audrey 2 little Halloween, and this is just smooth plastic. And I took a paintbrush and I speckled it a little bit. And so it looks bricky. And that's what I'm used to working with, this sort of look. I've got the Maxwell Health, pretty funny. So this texture was crazy to me. But I'm excited about it. And for what it's worth, it also comes with a series of paper cutouts for Olympia Tool and Die. I'll be swapping I'll be swapping those out. The curvy parts sound right. Good evening, Jason. How you doing? So Jason, this is my first time ever painting a wooden kit. It's by ITLA. It's N Scale, and we're going to see what happens. I don't have any of the colors I want. I've got lousy paintbrushes. The only thing I've got going on is a nice clean palette tray. Either RAID or Ortho can take care of that. I also read, when I was watching the videos, they talked about sanding back. So once you get these base coats down, to sand back and take the paint back off. And I'm not necessarily sold on that, only because the details here are so fine. So again, that looks way better in person. And that is these are the only wall sections, and I'm trying to decide, you know what, I think I'll probably do the exposed brick as well. Start there, put a little bit of color on it. And I'll come back in and do sort of the concrete spots by hand around it, I guess. Lintel, thank you, Floyd. Luckily my father doesn't tune in for these, because otherwise he'd be pointing out that I should know what they're called. So there is almost absolutely no paint on this. So I would say it's going towards stain. Again, I'm a little more used to the idea about painting something. This is akin to staining it, and as Steve, BN Ironworkers, pointed out, certainly you should or could be priming it, or it'll warp. I said I was nervous only because they are expensive. Yeah, I forget. I think this kit was upwards of, I want to say $40. It does have a couple little features. It did come with some 3D printed little parts that they inset. Yeah, MDF expands. Yeah, certainly IKEA bookcases, when they get wet, are good at that. Okay, so I think that's all the bricked areas, and I've got those touched up, which is good. Now I want to do a little bit maybe of the pumpkin spice. I don't know, let's see what happens. Not sure if that even shows up like it's doing anything, but I'm going to go back in after this with a little bit of, I think, burnt umber to bring it back down a little bit. I think to the comment of being the kits are a little more expensive than what I'm used to working with. The plus side is I bought it so long ago, like 3 or 4 months ago, I have forgotten how much I paid for it, and I'm now into the next mode. I better get it used up and do something with it. So I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, the color is really quite different, but I think it's starting to show up like there's different things going on there. And again, these are like $1 for about 50 of them. I hear Jason Jensen has some nice affordable N Scale kits. I've also heard that Jason is a treat to work with. Act now. I guess I better start watching because I have no idea what I'm listening to. Pumpkin Spice Latte? Yeah, this is another random mix of music. I thought we would hit the new year not too stressed out. So I know it's a pity that I'm actually really happy with the color that's going down, but this looks like a mustard stain on camera. I built his kits. Correct me if I'm wrong, is it Peter who is at ITLA? Is that his name? I'm actually surprised this pumpkin spice is looking so nice. I got tubular line laser cut kits, the shotgun house and the company house kit, both N Scale. I'd love to get some Jason a gas station kit. Yeah, the gas station kit's lovely. Okay. So I think I could even be a little more aggressive. See, this paint, this craft paint is so lousy that it actually stains more than it actually goes on. So it's actually doing me a favor. Okay. I hear this Jason guy is crazy handsome too. So the hope is I'm going to come back in around this with some of the concrete color. Alright. Alright, so for my eyes this is a little too light. So I think I have to, oh goodness, I have to do my best Jason Jensen here. And hold up to the camera. I love you, Jason. But next I'm going to use espresso. God, I can't even find the camera. Oh, goodness. And we'll see how this goes. I've noticed Jason is doing some daily videos. Absolute champion. I had thought about what would it be like to do a video every day. And it seems an awful lot like too much work. Okay, so pumpkin spice, I forget, and this is just espresso. So I feel like this is going to be too dark. So I'm going to see if I can pick a middle ground between these two. I suppose I should be, let's just see. Okay, yep, this is okay. This is also going to be a backdrop building, and in terms of the configuration for this one, I'm thinking that I'll probably do it, the majority of it as a flat. I worked on these retaining walls that you may have, sort of see me plugging away at, and I would like to fill up behind them, and this would be a great kit for that. Good evening, Mr. Dundas Junction. James, hope you're well. Happy New Year. All right. So I think I'm okay with this. Let's put a little bit more in there. So, if that is all that's bone dry. Just a second. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to start working on the concrete. Now, So I'm going to paint things tonight and then realize all the things I didn't paint later. I don't know if I'm going to get to putting anything together. So that is absolutely bone dry. Is that sponge working like a dry brush? Yeah, so I've got basically no paint on it. And again, the color, I think you can see that there's variation there. It looks yellow. But this is a good red brick. Good evening, Mr. Scott Rails. So it's absolutely bone dry. So things I have to do is I have to hand paint in the concrete lintels. I have to paint in this wall somehow. I haven't thought about that. So what I would like to do is I'm going to mask this off with some tape and do the concrete and see how that goes. You got a darker spot right there. And another darker spot there. Okay. And in fact, I think I'm going to try something else. Or do I want to paint the... Okay, we're going to do two things at once. I'm going to mask and do the concrete up here, and I'm going to try to do some stucco-y stuff over here. I'm just going to try to match up what... I just have to pull this out of the view here for me to get the tape on. I'm basically going to copy the kit the painting of the kit on the package. And again, sort of heeding Steve's warning, I'll make sure that I don't get too heavy-handed with any of this and get it to warp. Steve, do you paint the back of your kits as well to be safe? Okay, so hopefully this doesn't pull anything off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sponge on concrete colors across the top and bottom. And I probably am going to get, okay, yeah, thanks Steve. I'm going to get another clean sponge so there's no contamination. And painting concrete isn't a problem. I have done a lot of that. So I got some suede here and some fog gray, and those are the two, suede and fog gray. There we go. And I've also got two trimmed down brushes that I'm going to use for some dry brushing. Smith of Gear, if you add interior lighting, you use to dark paint. Yes, understand. Okay, so I'm going to go in with a bit of suede. And maybe that's all I'm going to go in with. And so as I said, because our good friend Kris over at Go Via or Go Home is going to start doing the kit builds again, the goal is to have this primed so that maybe Saturday night I can join in and glue some fingers together. Now, for people who have done wood kits, and I guess I'm looking at people like you, Steve, do you prefer just to use regular white glue on these? Or weld bond, or are you using super glue, or whatever's close? So I don't want to go too heavy. Oh, and I need to then do these. Wood glue. Tight bond, okay. For the people who are joining me here tonight, hammer... James, you're spicy in 2026 already. For the other people, like, I don't have any good reason that I haven't worked with wooden kits before, but they are a little less common to get for sure. I like tight bond, okay. So I don't know if it's obvious to you, but this concrete paint, when put on thin, isn't covering very well. So again, cheap paint. So I'm going to go on and do a couple coats here, which I think will be nice to add some texture to it anyway. I'm not going to bother with the details tonight because I need to take those off. One of the things I've done before is Super 77, which is the spray glue. If you spray something like a piece of foam core, not too much, right? A little bit of the spray glue, what will happen is that you just don't touch it. It becomes like a giant post-it note. And so that you can take all your little bits and you can just stick it on that and they'll pull back off. They don't stick too permanently. But yeah, okay. Right, so I've got first coat of concrete there. I know that this little piece, these are railings, which is wild to me. I have no idea how I'm going to get those off. I'm going to research that. There's some little signs over here. There's the doors. There's a garage door. And these are these clever little pieces that go over the seams. And so I'm going to give this whole thing the same treatment. And so these will be quite thin, and when I go to cover up the seams, like they'll have the laser cut edge, which will be dark, And this is where I suspect what I'll do is I will just go in and fix it with a little paintbrush. Okay. So that one is almost totally dry already. I'm going to go back in here then. I guess I was trying to preserve these laser marks, but the truth is that they'll be covered up by these little guys. RDG, I have a wood building I've been working on and off since 2006. A 2-track coal shed in HO scale with over 6,000 wood parts using Type Bond 2. My goodness. I mean, are you enjoying yourself working on this kit? Because I'm trying to find things I can get done quickly. One of the things that comes after this is probably my Union Station. I'm just trying to decide if I want to kit bash it very much or just give it a custom paint job. So if I was to come over to this area, while that sort of sets up and dries, I suppose I can add a little bit here. Good enough for now. So one of the things that I have a tough time finding, total scratch build. Okay, now I understand. So let me see if I can't get it. So this paintbrush, you might call that a flat, and it's a 1.5 millimeter flat. And it's hard to find them because they behave a little bit differently because they do have a broad flat tip on them. And I prefer them over a pointed tip. They just seem to work a bit better. And so what I want to do now is go in and fill in around this brickwork. Good evening, Mr. N Scale Train Boy. I feel like, do I need to try to get even closer with the camera? Let me see for a second. If people don't mind, oh, this might be good. Check this out. How do we feel about that? That's a little better. So I filled in the brick area with some dabbing and now going around with this sort of concrete color to establish the stucco again. And I guess the stucco should be a bit of a different color than the concrete cornices. I've got a few other colors around here that I could use. Maybe we'll just switch over to the new color. I just get these sort of established. One of the other things that I am working on is how to come up with a really repeatable way, and I've talked about this before, for weathering my rolling stock. I had mentioned on Christmas Day that my kids very rightly surprised me with a Rapido mystery box, and it came with 6 covered hoppers, which I was happy about because it was immediately a unit train. And so my first thought is, well, I want to make them as distressed and as terrible as I possibly can. And so I'm trying to come up with a surefire way with between washes or airbrush or whatever to be able to very quickly weather them. Okay, I want to make this a more stucco color. Did you finish? I haven't done the hoppers yet, no. Let me see, what do I have here? So this is called light buttermilk. So I'm going to try doing the wall actually in light buttermilk, like a stucco, and then maybe I'll stain it. I got 4 CP tankers. Oh, you can't weather a Canadian Pacific car, can you? So I'm just going to sort of scumble this on. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just sort of go between the concrete and the light buttermilk color. So sort of haphazardly put a little bit of each down and just wet mix it right on the building. Don't mess them up, James. Oh, that must be Kris, yes. James and I are still trying to arrange a play date. Good evening, Mr. Model Railroad Show. Tonight we are playing around with an ITLA wood kit that I picked up, and I've never worked with wood kits before. And so tonight is painting, because later this week, on Saturday, hoping to sort of pop in for another live stream where it's just a kit build. So again, I'm not sure if it shows up well here. It probably doesn't, but there's a lot going on because I keep mixing the two colors here. And I will do this probably more than once. And that's why I like these little flat brushes. So while that's sort of drying, I'm going to come back in here. And I think I'm going to mix a bit of this light color with the concrete color and give this concrete another go over here. I'm also, as I'm playing around with this and trying to figure it out, I'm not just necessarily dabbing, I'm sort of dragging this as well. Okay. So because I missed it, what is the structure building? No problem. So this is an ITLA kit called the N Scale Olympia Tool and Die. And it's a modular kit so that you can assemble all the walls to either be a long structure or a complete structure, and there are a series of different configurations you can use. So it comes with a series of detail parts. So choose your configuration, pull the detail parts, get it done. Etching and streaking with a torn up sponge. Yes, I do have. Are we talking, what kind of sponge, Mustache Mike, are we talking about? Do you like the big sponges or finer sponges? Because I've yet to sort of play with that. So I suppose I should paint some of these individual bricks in. Alright, so let's see how this does, because I'm sort of impatient. The finer for N Scale, yeah. So I think with a bit of weathering, that's good. Yeah, if I remember right, a number of the Canadian groups or people are not going to be displaying who were there in the past. Mini prints and ITLA, yeah. So, what I'm thinking is I will let that dry and I'll put the tape down again and I will actually try to make that sort of dirty now. Okay, hang on, jumping around here. So, I got to make sure that I don't forget to put those same concrete colors on these parts that go here. Very latte-like. Yeah, this is the latte building. Okay. So those will pop out and go on top of that. I'm going to warm that up a little bit more. So back over into this one. Got to keep going here. Yeah, this paintbrush is already drying out a little bit. Don't want to dip in my coffee. Hang on here. Okay, keep going. Dab, dab, dab. Oh, I suppose I have to figure out what kind of brush I can use to paint the lintels. I'm not going to completely finish this in front of you guys because it borders on the boring. But that's starting to look good. I really like that effect. Also, don't dip your paint in the coffee. I have done that before. Alright, so let's just keep... This is the wrong paintbrush. That's why it's so lousy. This one. Right, fella. Let's keep it together. So I'm going to be sloppy and go into the concrete areas down here because if I mask it, it should be fine later. Okay. Call this good, just about. I think that looks pretty stucco-y for right now. So I wonder if this brush can pull off, oh geez, I don't know about this. So the lintels up here, try not to put my big head into the middle of this. How, So I guess in theory, I should pull, okay, why don't I just try painting one, that. Smaller brush. I actually don't have a decent smaller brush. I'm going to make this work though. I wonder if it's worthwhile throwing a wash on this when it's done. Steve, do you put washes on these things when you're finished? I'm tempted to chuck a wash on it just to see, but I shouldn't. I think that's going to look okay. Okay. Yeah, dull coat first. Gotcha. When you say dull coat, Steve, do you actually use dull coat? Like the brand dull coat or a matte finish of some sort? I like that they add the 90-degree corner brace. If anyone's wondering, so the kit does come with the corner bracing here and base as well. Support blocking. Robert's mortar mix. Oh, okay. Speaking of mortar, I wonder if I take a little bit of I put a little bit on the brick here and I push it around. Can I get like a mortar-y look? Well, I don't hate that. Over here. Let's do it again over here. I don't like that one so much, but that'll be okay. So then what I'm thinking is that I probably, so this definitely needs more scumbly coats here to make it look good. Because you can see the red popping through. And I'm just playing back and forth here with a couple different colors. I'm trying to move as fast as I can so the craft paint doesn't necessarily dry before I can wipe another color into it. I think that generally looks good. So I'm trying, I don't use dull coat anymore. I fogged up and no problems with gloss coat trademark, but for matte clear I don't use my airbrush anymore. It's generic brand rattle can. Okay. So I'm just going to just slop. Okay. Huh. So that was, that was an hour's worth. So again, I'm not sure if that texture shows up for you. So what I'm thinking, one last thing I want to sort of hit on here, or attempt, is I don't necessarily, so the concrete actually looks nice against the red brick, and that color, the pumpkin spice, what did we do? Cinnamon stick and pumpkin spice actually is a really nice color here. What I think I want to do is try to figure out a way to darken the edge at the lower part of the brick, like it's not so hot. So let's just see. Tania's got some pretty good rattle cans. I have no idea if this is the right thing to do, but what I'm going to do is I want to see if I can come in here with a slightly darker brick color and somehow maybe fade this up so it's looks kind of wretched. Yeah, a lot of Tamiya paint is no longer available in Kanakistan. So if I just sort of, so I've got like almost no paint on this. Let's see if I can't not make that look as bad as it looks. Well, that definitely is a line. Okay, so that's not, that wasn't the plan. So it probably showed up on the camera. It didn't show up because my hand was shadowing it, but I've somehow managed to get like a mascara run on the front of the building here. It's not terrible. Okay. Do I go even more extreme? Let's just go a little bit, I don't know. I suppose this, so I would be inclined to do this with an airbrush, but I figure I'd commit to the no special tools night. Some of that brick should be covered with graffiti. Got you covered. We're going to get to that. So that's better. Okay, so definitely I don't like how light this is right now. That's perfectly fine. I'll go back in there. I'm really tempted to give this a bit of a wash. I mean, geez. I don't know if I want to get ahead of myself and drop a wash onto it yet. Yeah, I'm not going to do it yet. But I think, so I'm happy with how this is turning out. And this will turn out nicely. I got to paint the all the lentils on it. And the thresholds and stuff. So I can definitely see this will be, I would probably say that I'm going to have to invest. This has almost been, alright, so let me think here for a second. So this has almost been 45 minutes to get that much painted. Oh, this color is way better. So I think you can see the color is a bit better here. The overhead cam. So I've got, it's a bit darker, it goes a bit lighter, it's got a bit muddled. I like the way this has turned out. I'd cover with something before the wash. We're still using this fine, this fabric and stuff. All right, so sorry, it's not good live streaming when you think inside your head. Okay, so what I would say is that I am principally pretty happy with this. I know that this is going to be an arm's length away from anyone. Yeah, this is a better camera. This is going to be an arm's length away. The light here is also super blown out. But I think, how close can I get before it's... It's not bad, is it? So, what I will probably do, based on what's coming in, is that I will 100% paint this and then pop it out. Then I will assemble it, probably dull coat it, and I will cheat a little bit, and I like to run, I've been finding that if I run the my wash, and my wash is like 70% isopropyl alcohol with like 2 dots of India ink, and I've been able to airbrush that, and it does a really good job because you do a pass and you can see that it's wet, like you can see that it's got a little moisture to it, and then you just back away and it dries very quickly, and then you can layer on the weathering and it's nice. So I think that if I just keep doing that slowly around the clock here, I'll get this all sort of filled out with the concrete, put the whole thing together. The colors will be a little too bright, and then I'll take the wash and I'll knock it down. Yeah, I mean, this is, I need to work on this. So there it is. That looks like dried mustard, and that actually looks like a brick color. And when I think about what was on the front of not bad, actually. So again, for whoever's wondering, this is the pumpkin spice building. And the brick colors that we just landed on here tonight is spice pumpkin and cinnamon stick. If you're curious, the concrete and stucco was a combination of fog gray and light buttermilk. One thing that is going to be interesting is because I put the paint on so light. Just want to see if I can pop one of these, yeah. And this is what these will do then. All right, so these will cover up all of the seams depending upon how I assemble the kit. And you won't even see the unpainted edge really. And so because these are dovetailed, I can move some of these wall section and intersperse them so there is some variety. I think that'll look pretty good. And then I'll go back over with a brush. So, thinking out loud, please bear with me here. So, what we did tonight then was very light base coats with makeup sponges, just dragging it, barely putting any paint onto it. I did a combination of 3 basic colors on the brick, which was the light orange, the medium, and the espresso color. Masked it off, went and dabbed in some of the concrete colors, reversed it, went in, did a little more darker. Down here I reversed the process, I brushed in all of the brick areas, and then I've just muddled in or scumbled in back and forth between those 2 concrete colors, but really I want to keep it whiter. And what I would say is that, so I will spend the next night or so, and I will get these all painted up, and it'll probably be pretty fun to pop them out, and then hopefully on Saturday, Saturday night, I can join along with Kris as he works on the kit build stream. All right, this is the right place to stop, because what's going to happen is I need to probably dip my head in front of the camera to see what's going on. And as we say before, that doesn't make for good TV. So number one, Happy New Year, everybody. I am thrilled that people showed up today. Next week is our good friend Kris, and our good friend Kris. I have no idea what he's working on. He recently released a fairly significant update video, and he's on to round 3 of the area that has troubled him, and I think the latest version is pretty awesome. Let's see. Whether or not he wants it pointed out, Mr. B on Ironwood Railroad did a couple live streams. I didn't even know that he was going to do them, but he popped on, he was doing them. And so maybe that is something that you might want to swing by and take a look at. And a little bit of support from him. Mr. M&M Rails, I don't know if you've been following the online drama where he was brutally mugged by Heath at Human City Junction. I have no idea how Heath managed to hit Mark in the head without necessarily standing on a step stool to do it, but dragged him away, and now Mark is fully into backdrop and layout mode. So we've got a layout here that is past the tipping point, now getting into maybe detailing and painting. We also have Mark, who is down to foam paint and backdrop, which is nice. We've got Kris, who has put a car a day on the layout for, I think it's like 900 days or something like that, but definitely building a new section, and he's resurrecting the Git builds, which I think that covers off everything else. Monday night, Off the Tracks with James and Mike, N Scale Train Boy and Paul Stamp, check them out as well, and anyone else, Model Railroad Show, all these other people that that play around every night of the week. So that's it. I have figured out what I'm going to do next. Now what I have to do is talk to myself and mutter and finish all this painting. For everyone out there, Happy New Year once again. It was a treat seeing you. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. All right? Have a great night, everybody.